following is a sample from the Grade 7 Unit 3 math test on fractions, decimals, and percentages. Part A was multiple choice responses. Now, while there was some things that needed to be worked out, some of the stuff could be worked out just by using some estimation or a little bit of common sense. So let's look at number 1. It says which is equivalent to 3 over 7. So here is the fraction 3 over 7, and we're to say which one of these are equivalent or mean the same. And the easiest way to write an equivalent fraction is to look at the bottom and say, how can I make this 7 become the bottom of this one, or the bottom of that one, or the bottom of this one? Well, can you make 7 become 14? What do we have to times it by? Multiply it by 2, so you do the same thing to the top. And 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 7 is 14. So, what a lucky guess. When I changed it by multiplying the top and the bottom by the same amount, this is the answer I came up with. C, 6 over 14. Because every other one, if I multiplied it to get 14, I would get 6, and that's not 6 there. This one here says, which shows 0.05 written as a fraction in lowest terms. And any decimal can be written as a fraction. This is the tenths place, and the next one is the hundredths place. So, we've got 5 in the hundredths place. So it's 5 out of 100. Now, how can we make this 5 out of 100 be written in lowest terms? In other words, can we divide the top and the bottom by the same thing? Well, I can divide 5 by 5 to reduce it, but I'd better do the same to the bottom if I want to keep it the same fraction, just reduced. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 100 divided by 5 is 20, because 20 5 times will give you 100. And the answer there will be 1/20, so that would be A. In number 3, you're asked to convert this mixed number to an improper fraction. Now, an improper fraction would be where the top number is greater than the bottom number. So let's change 11 and 5 over 9 to an improper fraction. Well, we know the bottom is always going to be the same. It's going to be out of 9. So now all we have to do is multiply. 9 times 11 is 99. Add 5 more onto that, and we will get 104 over 9, which is the answer in D. Now, convert 27 over 5 to a decimal. Remember, any number can be written as a decimal, but in this case, it's written as a improper fraction. So the first thing I'm going to do is change 27 over 5 to a mixed number, So, how many 5s will go into 27? Well, 5 times 5 is 25, so it'll go 5 times, and there's 2 left over. So 5 and 2/5. So we know it's not going to be this answer, because this one's 0 decimal, and we know it's not going to be this one, because that's 0 decimal. So it's got to be one of these two. So the only thing we got to figure out is this fraction going to be as a decimal. So we've got 5 decimal something. So how do you make it become a decimal? You simply have to change it to something out of 10. Because 1 out of 10 will be equal to 0.1. 2 out of 10 is 0.2. 3 out of 10 is 0.3. So, to multiply that by 2 and multiply that by 2 will be your solution. So 2 times 2 is 4, 5 times 2 is 10, so you will have 5 and 4/10, or written as a decimal, 5.4. And that's this one right here. Number 5, which is a repeating decimal? A repeating decimal is simply a one that keeps going on and on and on and on. Okay? But The only one that it can be here is C, because it has this symbol, a line up above it. So if I put a line right there, that means this 2 keeps repeating. If I put 2.3 and put a line there, that means it's going to be 2.3 repeating. So I keep writing this forever and never stop. That's what it means to be repeating. Number 6, you're asked to multiply 2.9 times 1.6. First thing I would do is round these off just to get an idea of what your answer could be. So let's get an estimate. 2.9 rounded off would be 3. 1.6 rounded off would be 2. So 3 times 2, your answer is going to be about 6. So we know this one's not going to make sense. We know this one's not going to make sense. And these two ones are the closest ones to 6. Now we can simply work it out on the side if you wish. So 2.9 and then 1.6. And you'd multiply that through. 9 times 6 is 54. 2 times 6 is 12. Plus 5 more is 17. Add your 0. Now, 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 2 is 2. When you add all of these up, 4 plus nothing is 4. 9 plus 7 is 16. 2, 3, 4. How many decimal places should we have? Well, there's 2 decimal spots right up here, so we should have 1, 2 there. Even if you didn't know that, you would know right away that this has to be your answer, because it has the same digits. And I'll move this one up here just to get him out of the way. There. In number 7, you're asked to divide. And again, I would estimate it just to eliminate the obvious wrong answers. So 99.6 would round off to 100. 0.6 would round off to 1. So what's 100 divided by 1? Is going to be about 100. So we know this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Look at that. Right away, this doesn't make sense. So the only possible answer would be C. Now we can work this out by going 99.6, and we're going to divide that by decimal 6. Now the way to get rid of this decimal, simply shift this decimal over 1, and you must do the same to this one. So now it looks like 6 divided into 996. So I'll erase the decimal now, because this is what we end up with. And then it's just a simple division problem. 6 goes into 9 once, 3 left over. Bring down your 9. 6 goes into 39. Well, 6 sixes are 36. And we've got 3 left over. Bring down your 6. 6 times 6 is 36. And we're going to have 0 remainder left over. So our answer is 166. Number 8. Which step should be performed first in order to solve the problem below using order of operations? If you don't remember bed mass, this problem could be a little hard. So remember bed mass, brackets first, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So brackets first, here's our brackets right there. So this is what we should do first. The answer is C. Now this one says evaluate using order of operations. So you actually have to work this out. Again, I could work this out by estimating. Okay, and what part should I do first though? Definitely the multiplication according to bed mass. So I'm going to do this first. So 1.9 times 3 should be first. When I'm done that, I can do addition of there or there next. So 3.19 times 3, I'm going to take that and write it there. I'm just going to work it out. Times 3. 3 times 9 is 27. Carry the 2. 3 times 1 is 3. 4, 5. So my answer there is going to be 5.7 because you have one decimal place there. So now that I have 5.7 worked out for all of this, all I've got to do is add those two things. So 5.7, I'm going to add that to 2.7 because they're both addition, so it doesn't matter which one I do. And this one is again 5.7. So I'm going to add them all up. 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 21. 5 plus 5 is 10. Plus 2 more is 12. Plus 2 more is 14. 14.1. And there is your answer right there. Number 10. What is 71.1% written as a decimal? Now remember, all percent really means, all 7% really means is out of 100. And we know we can write any of them as a decimal. So I'm going to take 71.1%, and to change that to a decimal, I simply have to divide it by 100. And when I divide it by 100, I'm just going to shift 1, 2 places this way, and there's my answer. Another way to get that one is to write it down as a fraction. So what if I write down 71.1% as a fraction? So I'll write 71.1 as a fraction. That would be out of 100. Because percent is out of 100. So can you write any fraction that's out of 100 as a decimal? Sure. Well, if it's hundredths, there should be the second decimal place. So it should be 0 decimal, and here's the second decimal place right there. So I should start putting 71.1 right there. So it's 71 and then one more tenth of a hundredth. But usually most people just do it this way. They divide it by 100 and they shift it. To write this as a percentage, remember anything can be written as a percentage if it's written as a fraction first. Now I've got 0.046 and I want to change that to percent. Anytime you're changing to percent, just multiply your decimal by 100. And when you multiply by 100, all you're doing is shifting it 2 places, 1, 2, to the right. So it'll be 4.6%. And there's your answer for that one right there.